one stage, great leaders will help you grow two stages, which is basically a 10x increase. But then you need to make changes frequently with leadership because the growth stalls and your investors don't tolerate those stalls in growth. And the more that you're a settler, the bigger company you find comfort in. And the more that you're a pioneer, the smaller company you find comfort in. So that mentality of just needing to always get better is critical. The more that you have it, the more that you have that development mentality, the more likely it is that you'll be able to span one stages, two stages, perhaps even longer. I think a lot of people are afraid of AI putting people out of jobs. I think they should be afraid of AI putting people out of jobs when those people don't want to use AI.
Welcome to this episode of the 8 Growth Ventures podcast. Today, we're excited to talk with Clate Mask, co-founder and CEO of Keap. Clate has spent over 20 years helping small businesses succeed through CRM and automation tools. In this episode, we'll explore his journey building Keap, his lessons as a SaaS founder, and his thoughts on the future of small business growth. Let's dive in. Clate, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really an honor and pleasure for having you here.
You bet, Hamlet. Great to be with you.
Of course. So, Clate, I know you're new to our podcast, but for our listening audience, what we typically like to do is delve into sort of the past, present, and the future of where you see everything that you've been working on and the lessons learned along the way. One of the questions I want to kind of jump into is a little bit about the story of Keap. I mean, it used to be called Infusionsoft. What really inspired you on building Keap, and where did the initial inspiration start from?
Yeah, it was from us as a service business needing to grow, needing software to help us grow with, a small business and trying to solve all of the many problems and challenges that you're faced with. So we created it for ourselves, and then started to recognize that there were a lot of other small businesses that needed something like we offered. And so it really was born out of our own need, and then pretty quickly turned into an observation that we saw in the market where there was kind of a hole that we could fill.
What was the problem? I mean, CRM is one of those essential software tools, right? There's so much competition out
Yeah.
there. What was the problem that you guys were facing? What type of service business did you have? What was the problem you were facing? And you're like, no one is really doing this well out in the marketplace. This is why we wanted to build the tool.
Yeah. Well, we were a custom software company at the time, and we were having a hard time tying together our email marketing with our customer database, with our processing orders and tracking all the information associated with it. And so that was the basic problem. But over time, what emerged more and more was a need to automate the follow-up for customers and prospects. And if you just, simply put, we started to recognize that follow-up is broken in small businesses. And when small businesses don't follow up well, they leave a lot of opportunity on the table. We were experiencing that. We were seeing that with our customers. And that's the problem that we really aimed to solve.
I see. So what you realized, at least in your service business, there was a gap between getting the lead and beginning the process of trying to close the lead and potentially the follow-up sequencing, right? And
Yep.
which tools did you look at in the marketplace and you're like, no, they definitely don't do it well, and hence the reason for building what you guys built out?
Yeah, at the time it was, there was CRM tools out there like Salesforce and NetSuite and Right Now Technologies. I'm really dating myself here with some of these things, but that's really what the CRM landscape was. And they were saying they did it for small businesses, and we were like, no, this is not for small business. Then what happened over the next 3 to 5 years was the email marketing tools and the CRM tools started to kind of combine into this place where marketing automation was needed. And that's really where we made a name for ourselves as Infusionsoft. We were the marketing automation CRM for small businesses, and really just rode that for a decade or so as we led the market in marketing automation for small business.
Amazing. And at this point, you were bootstrapped, or had you actually raised some capital,
We were
you
bootstrapped
were
for
a
the
service business where you kind of walk me through that journey.
Sure. We were bootstrapped for the first few million, and then we raised a little bit of friends and family money, and then raised our first round of venture capital when we were at about 7 million.
So, wow, that's pretty late, by the way, because
Very late. It was a different world back
it's
then.
so, yeah, it's a completely different world. So walk me through that. I mean, it wasn't easy, obviously, right? Going from 0 to 1 million, let alone 7 million, and can you walk me through some of the things that in the early days you guys were passionately obsessed about, and to be able to achieve that?
Yeah, we were really focused on these um, savvy marketers who needed to tie together their email marketing and their CRM, and that was really the place where we did a great job for our customers. And yeah, we because we were an Arizona-based company, it was really difficult for us to raise capital, and we weren't sure we wanted to raise capital, to be honest. Um, but we quickly found that in order to raise capital, we needed to find an investor outside of Arizona, and that's what we did. So we raised a Series A in 2000, end of 2007, and then we raised a Series B at the end of 2008 because it was kind of it was a rough market at that time. And then we just continued to grow the business over the next several years, and then later raised a Series C and a Series D.
Amazing. So as Keap has scaled, what are some of the, and especially with the influx of capital, and you guys have kept on growing, what are some of the new leadership challenges you yourself have come across and you've had to solve for all the founders listening in?
Yeah. I write in my book about the stages of small business growth, and it's definitely true for software companies. And I did a ton of research on this when I wrote the book many years ago, and then when I rewrote the book, it was only enhanced by the research and the experience and the observations of another 15 years of work. And what I've found is that businesses grow in stair-step fashion, not in smooth upward to the right fashion. And generally they grow in bursts and then plateaus. Like that's what the stair step looks like. And it's pretty interesting because they grow at the plateaus happen at the ones and threes of revenue. So 100,000 is a different stage than 300,000, is a different stage than 1 million, a different stage than 3 million, 10 million, 30 million, 100 million. And so the question you're asked of what do you encounter in leadership? Well, it depends which stage we're at. It really changes with the stages because people, process, and product are all needing to be adjusted in some way in order to move past that next stage. So for us, what we found after we raised capital was, when we were at about 10 million, in order to grow that run from 10 million to 30 million, we needed a team of leaders that had a little bit more experience in that stage. And what I learned all throughout the growth of our company was the leaders that help you get to one stage can maybe help you get to the next stage, but good leaders will help you grow one stage. Great leaders will help you grow two stages, which is basically a 10x increase. But then you need to make changes frequently with leadership because the growth stalls and your investors don't tolerate those stalls in growth. If you don't have investors, you can afford to plateau and kind of work your way through the growth stages. But when you've got serious venture capital behind you, you got to keep the pedal to the metal and you got to keep growing through those stages. So when you're growing fast like that, you have to make changes with your leadership as you're going through those stages.
Amazing. I love that. So what are some commonalities, I guess, because I love the different stage gates you put it on, and like what makes someone that's great from 0 to 1 not be so good from, like, let's say 1 to 10 or 10 to 50 million? Like
Yeah,
what are the things? And it's probably very rare to have someone that can go from 0 to 100 million, right? Like all the way through. So
it
can
is
you
it is rare.
elaborate a little bit on some of those things?
Yeah, you bet. By the way, what I find is that, and there's been a lot of press about this last year, that founders tend to be able to jump through the stages a little bit more effectively than functional professional leaders. And it's not because there's anything, it's not the founders are better than, it's just that they are so committed to, and their identity is so wrapped up in the business that when you get right down to it, they're willing to burn the midnight oil, they're willing to grow and develop and change. They're kind of wired for it. So you're right that it's very rare for leaders to grow more than two stages in that leadership role. I mean, I think anybody listening right now, if take your revenue that you're at right now, and if you had a leader that helped you grow 10x, you'd be pretty dang excited about that leader. I mean, that's a pretty great leader. A good leader will help you grow three times, which is one stage. A great leader will help you grow 10x, two stages. So to answer your question, what makes it different, what makes leaders more effective or less effective at different stages is a few things. First of all, if they haven't seen the stage that they're heading into, if you're at 3 million and all you've ever known is businesses less than 3 million, and you want to go from 3 to 10 million, you have a disadvantage in the sense that you don't have a model for what it looks like. I had one of our board members used to call this a normative model for the next stage. It's like, well, what does it look like at the next stage? What does a team look like that you lead? What does the executive team that you're on look like? What do the tools look like that you need from 3 to 10 million? The reality is they're different than what you needed in order to get you to the prior stage. There's the old saying that, what got you to Egypt won't get you to the promised land, or what got you here won't get you there. These are variations of the point that one reason why leaders struggle is because they don't have a visual and a model for what it looks like from a people, process, product, systems, and tools. I mean, those are all things that are important. Another reason why people struggle is their comfort level with the maturity and the evolution of the business. So I think we would all agree that $100 million business that's raised venture capital is going to have a whole different level of administrative responsibilities, governance, board function than a business that's doing a million or 3 million or 10 million even. And so if you're the CEO of a $5 million company versus a CEO of a $100 million company, you've got to be willing to take on a lot of different things at 100 million. And sometimes people just don't want to deal with that. They prefer the smaller. On the other hand, a lot of times you'll have a leader that's got the experience in a larger company, and it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to go into this small company that's so, it's messy and messed up and ugly and screwed up and
The
and
Wild West. They're like, man, I'm
yeah,
used to process and procedure. I'm like, what is this? So,
exactly. So if you could very simply describe people in software as pioneers and settlers, and some people are more pioneers and some people are more settlers. And that's a very polarized version of it, but it's on a spectrum truly. And some people are a little bit more to the center. And the more that you're a settler, the bigger company you find comfort in. And the more that you're a pioneer, the smaller company you find comfort in. So those are some of the reasons why it happens. But there's one other reason, and it is that a lot of times a leader has, when they've been in a company that's done the 10 to 30 million run really well. I was just talking yesterday to one of our former leaders. He's a former CFO of ours. And we were talking about this reality of being in a smaller company or a bigger company. And when I kind of said, hey, remember the stages, right? 10, 1 to 3, 3 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 to 100. What happens is people get relationships, friendships, connections, coworkers, not to mention the tools they like. So they build this tool set that is both technical tools and human resources to solve the problems that are specific to that stage. And so they get very comfortable knowing how to do it. Quite simply, they're like, yeah, I got this. I know how to do this stage really, really well. And so a lot of times people find satisfaction in knowing how to nail that stage. And you think about it, companies that are hiring like to find people that are comfortable with that stage that they're going to into. They may not articulate it the way we just have, but it's really what they should be looking for. If I'm a $30 million company, I don't want to go hire a CMO of a $250 million business unless that CMO has had repeat experiences going from 30 to 100. Then I want that CMO. But sometimes we get enamored with their big company pedigree or background, and then that CMO comes in and just feels like they're in a crap show because there's all kinds of messes that they're not used to, and they look down on team members and they feel frustrated, and it's a disaster. We've seen it over and over and over across teams. Hire for the next stage that you're going through.
I love that. That's such great advice. It's so the fit here is on, if I heard you correctly, it's on dual side, right? Is where are you going and how fast are you getting there within your organization? Make sure you're hiring for someone that is of that same stage or right has been in that stage with you and has gone to the next stage. If you're able to find the magic candidate that has gone through a couple stages, even better. But don't start them 2 stages ahead of you.
Right.
Start them hopefully that they were already in where you were, right? So obviously this makes the hiring process infinitely more difficult.
Yep.
Uh, one other area I guess you can look is someone who is much more open or capable and to be advised or coached or learn and develop through the stages, right? So it's one of those two that you should be
Yes.
looking for in your team. Is that a fair assessment
Yeah,
or?
that's right. Because you're not going to, let's say you're a $10 million business, you're not going to just suddenly have a whole new team that has done the run from 10 to 30. The reality is you're going to have some people that started with you when it was three and some people that started at seven. And you don't just throw those people out when you get to 10, assuming that they're able to still, they're able to successfully do the job. But the key thing is their willingness to learn and grow as a 10 to $30 million leader. And that comes down to a few different things. The networks that they immerse themselves in. This is probably the number one thing because again, they don't have the normative model of what it looks like in the next stage. So they need to get some peers who do have that. They know what it looks like and they can talk with them and ask them questions and say, "Hey, we're trying to implement this specific go-to-market strategy and which tools should I be looking at and what's the skill set for this person I'm gonna be hiring? You got to know what that looks like. And if you don't know, you got to be able to talk to people who know. And because if you're just trying to figure it out, that's called slow boat to China. That's just going to take a long time. There's going to be a lot of mistakes, a lot of on the job training. And so number one thing is they've got a network that they can talk to. And and so if I were bringing on a new team member or I had an existing team member and we were getting ready to go into the next stage and they didn't have experience in the next stage, the number one thing I would require is that they get a network of their peers that they can talk with, that they meet with regularly, that sort of thing. Second thing is they've got to be investing in their own coaching and development. So whether they get a coach, whether they join a program, courses, whatever it is, they've got to be growing because as I always said to our team, look, this is a fast moving train. It'll run you over if you don't keep pace. You got to keep pace. And you're not doing anybody a favor by hoping and pretending and thinking that they might be able to get there. No, like we got to make this sport really clear. This is what I need from this role over this next stage. If you don't have this right now, let's get really clear about it so we can coach you, we can get the training, the development, the courses, the peer networks, etc. Because I'm counting on you to be able to do that. And if you can't, then I can't let down the rest of the team and the rest of the company. We would need to let you go if you can't keep pace. So that mentality of just needing to always get better is critical. The more that you have it, the more that you have that development mentality, the more likely it is that you'll be able to span 1 stages, 2 stages, perhaps even longer.
So what I'm hearing is like more of a growth mindset, right? So
For
someone
sure.
who is open to learning, someone who is on a self-development journey and can take constructive feedback, can understand what's working well, what's not working well, and can be coached, is coachable. And
Yeah.
all of those elements are kind of the things that you're looking for in your leaders. If they haven't gone through the stages, if they have, they probably had it already or elements of it, and that's what's helped them kind of be able to rise through it.
Yeah, you always want people to have a growth mindset, but it's if they have experience in the stage that you're going through, especially if they've done it more than once. Because when they've done it more than once, they kind of have a playbook. Sometimes it's unwritten, but they sort of have a playbook when they've done it more than once because they know. So in a perfect world, you're finding somebody that's done this, you're at 10 million and you're looking for a new VP of customer success, and you find someone who's done the 10 to 32 times in SaaS, a software company, you're loving it, right? And usually you can't quite articulate exactly why it's so perfect, but that's what it is they've been through the stage multiple times, and they know the playbook that you need. They're bringing the playbook, they're bringing the personnel, they're bringing the tools, they got confidence, So the only thing to worry about, the only thing to be concerned about there is that you're not bringing in somebody so arrogant that they're going to have sharp elbows with everybody else on the team.
I love that. Speaking of playbooks, we're living in a new world where a lot of playbooks don't work anymore in the age of AI, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, what you guys do is the ton of data that you're able to collect and the incredible enhancements you can give to so many departments, from
Yeah.
marketing to sales to customer service. I'm sure there's here, this has been obviously a topic of you guys and a focus for your organization. Can you tell me a little bit of how you see AI disrupting the CRM marketplace, and what are some of the things that you guys are focused on?
Yeah, for sure. You know, years ago, I remember we were having a strategy session and I said, hey, it's not going to be long before the software will write your emails for you. And we didn't know, I mean, AI wasn't a thing back then. I mean, this was 10 years ago. And my CPO at the time, Richard Tripp, about a year ago, he texted me. He said, "Hey, remember when you said that? You were right. Like that, it's writing. The software now writes your emails for you, writes your text messages, your landing page copy." So I think that was the first area where we really saw AI make an impact in marketing automation is with content creation and how challenging content creation used to be for these companies using marketing automation. It was like, hey, I got this great engine, but the fuel is content, and I got to create all this content. And it's what would cause a lot of purchasers of this technology to not become true adopters and users of the technology. They had to create the content. So I think that's one amazing thing that AI has done is it has advanced the content creation massively. Um, I think that the next thing that we started to see as AI began to grow was it could start to recommend with much more effectiveness what strategy to take. And so that recommendation is another way that marketing automation and CRM have been affected and impacted by AI. But then you start to go to um, the the way that it enhances your customer service reps, the way that it enhances your sales team, and you know taking action for them and bubbling up leads for them and moving things through the pipeline for them. I mean, these are all,
Coaching them, right? Like,
yeah,
this is what you did
coaching
well.
them.
This is
Exactly. So to me, we're in the very early innings of AI, and I think we can scarcely comprehend how dramatically it will continue to impact the CRM industry over the next few years.
I feel like you guys are at like the hub of innovation, right? That you have really, if done well, meaning the users use the product like they're supposed to, you have access to an endless amount of incredible data that you can utilize to really enhance all team members.
Yeah.
Um, Given that, and I've seen this, is it, what are you guys worried about? Like, what are some of the concerns you might have in terms of, hey, do we implement AI on top of what we have, or do we have to rethink some of the features and make it AI first?
Yeah, that's been the big question for everything we've looked at with AI over the last 3 years or so. We started to really get into it about 3 years ago, and um, you're right. I mean, it's like, well, do you create something from scratch here? Do you embed something? And so I think one of the things that if you're a new software company doing AI, there's so many advantages because you can build natively with AI right from the beginning. It's so much faster. I mean, I just think the every I think a lot of people are afraid of AI putting people out of jobs. I think they should be afraid of AI putting people out of jobs when those people don't want to use AI. So it's if so take an engineer for example. Well, the world of engineering is changing. You've got to use AI. And if an engineer doesn't want to use AI, then yes, AI is going to replace that engineer. But if an
Right.
engineer embraces AI, then the engineer can suddenly become a 10x engineer because they're using AI. And in software development, 10x engineers, these mythical engineers that are 10 times more prolific and effective than the average engineer, they exist, but they're very rare. In the
Right.
AI world, I think they're going to be much more common. And I think that's one of the big changes to software that we can barely even comprehend the end result of that. What happens when you have AI writing code, building products at such a pace that you in effect have nothing but 10x engineers? That's
That's
pretty
amazing.
exciting, and it's gonna what it'll do is it just dramatically accelerate the pace of innovation. And I think if we all look back over the past 18 months to 2 years, that's what's been happening.
I love that. So it's really not the replacement, but the superhumanizing of your skill sets, right? If you're a really good engineer, you have a chance of being an incredible, great engineer. If you're a really good salesperson, you can be a phenomenal, effective salesperson. If you're a really good marketer, sky's the limit. You could
Yeah,
really start pushing the boundaries of what you're capable of doing. So it's the superhumaning of your current skill sets and enabling you to be much more effective and efficient in all of those things. Am I
yeah,
summarizing it well, or
I think that's right. Yes, and it's true.
ama
Whatever your role is, so you can be afraid of
amazing?
it and be like, "Oh, this is gonna, this is bad," or you can just embrace it and learn and use it to enhance what you're doing, and like you said, make yourself superhuman.
Perfect. So where do you, and then we're talking about AI, we're talking about innovation, and we're talking about where you can kind of go in the next coming years or so. What are some, and I don't even want to talk about like 5 years from now. That seems like such an ancient time now these days of where
Yeah.
of how fast things are moving. Where do you see Keep headed in the next, 6 months or a year? And what are some of the unlocks that you've been wanting to do for such a long time that you now can see where you're like, man, we should be able to do this now?
Yeah.
Where do you see the future of your own organization headed?
Yeah, well, we joined forces with Thrive 3 months ago so that we could achieve the bigger mission we have to serve 1 million small businesses. And Thrive has several hundred thousand. We had tens of thousands. And so to join up with them and be able to serve many, many more small businesses, that was an important part of the long-term mission of the company, to be able to do that under the Thrive umbrella. In terms of more specifics, we have a beautiful user interface for our modern Keap product, and then we had the very powerful, robust automation engine of Infusionsoft. And we last year began to bring those two things together so that you could get a modern, powerful automation platform with a beautiful user interface. And that work that we've been doing to me is, that's very exciting. It really kind of sets the stage for the future of the company and our products and for our customers. So that's work we've been doing. We've now made that available to customers, and just with the click of a button, people can move to that modernized platform. But beyond that, it's the investments that we're making and that Thrive is putting into the product, bringing together more top of funnel capabilities to generate leads, which is what Thrive does really well, with our middle of funnel, bottom of funnel capabilities, automating the whole process, which is what Keap does really well. So to me, that's a very exciting thing for our customers, not only the modernized platform, but also the lead generation capabilities, the other tools and capabilities of Thrive coming into our product suite. So those are things to me that, in addition, of course, to the AI stuff that we discussed already, that I believe will be really powerful for our customers and our partners.
You've been doing this for a while now, 23 years?
Yes.
Is that, that's amazing. So what has kept you on the focus and the journey of this? And outside of building this incredible product that you have, how do people, what gets you excited, Clay? Like, what are the things that you're passionate about outside of building this incredible organization, this incredible product?
Yeah, I love helping small businesses grow, with an emphasis on grow. I love helping them to go through those stages of growth that we talked about. Love providing them tools and the platform and technology to do, especially like where we're really, really good is, when you're kind of getting to couple 100,000, 300,000, and then building that business up to about a $10 million business. That's where we're at our best. We have customers that go through to 30 million and even beyond, but really our sweet spot is about, 2 to 25 employees, can go up to about 100 employees, but that's where most small businesses are. So I love helping them through those stages, and it's a passion I've had for a long time. And when we had an opportunity to join forces with Thrive, they share that same passion, that same mission. They do it a little bit more top of funnel. We do it a little more bottom of funnel. They do it a little bit more with brick and mortar offline businesses. We do it a little bit more with online businesses. Of course, there's overlap in all these areas, but they do it a little bit more in taking the product to market with a large sales force. And we do it a little bit more with a partner force. So there was just a lot of synergies that we could see bring us together, but we're really united by this mission to help small businesses succeed and grow through these stages that I just described, especially those early stages of 100,000 to 300,000 to 1 million to 3 million to 10 million.
I love that. Well, Clate, I want to be very respectful of your time. Thank you so much for being here. For the listening audience, if they want to get a hold of you, what is the best way for them to be able to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. Wrote a book called Conquer the Chaos that's about this entrepreneurial journey and the personal keys to success and the business keys to success. They can go to conquerthechaosbook.com to get free resources there. The Conquer the Chaos podcast is there. So basically those are LinkedIn and then conquerthechaosbook.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure we leave that in the speaker notes. It's been a real pleasure having you here, from talking about your from your book to the view to the different stages of leadership and all the different things that leaders have to go through. I thought it was incredible. Also, the insights on what to look for in your leadership team, from being able to not only hire, but hire people who have already been there and have been able to go through from the first stage to the second stage. I thought overall was incredible insights for our listening audience. Thanks again for everyone listening in. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe or comment. And until next time, thank you so much.
Thanks, Hamlet.